Hi, I'm Annika Johnson from Al Johnson's in Sister Bay. I hope you enjoy my new video series called Door County Girl. These are stories of my life, the people and places that I love, and of course how we all survive here in northern Wisconsin. You can come back as often as you like, but don't forget to subscribe to Al's YouTube channel. I'll be posting lots of really cool new videos. So let's go! Welcome to another episode of Door County Girl with the Sister Bay Bowl. We had so much fun during the first round that we were chatting with Penny and Paula Anschutz in Sister Bay here. And this is going to be another continuation of, there's so much to talk about that we had to extend it a little bit. So we're just going to continue our conversation and you'll learn some cool stuff. Earl and Rita ran the restaurant for how many years? And the bowl, Sister Bay Bowl. How many years?
Well, in 82-ish, then my oldest brother Gary and Sharon took over.
Okay.
And Mom and Dad had bought a place in Florida, so they started going.
We stayed at your mom and dad's place in Florida one year. Yeah, my mom and dad were lucky enough to say, "Hey, we're staying in Earl and Rita's." It was like one of those like they have.
Yeah, it's in a park, yeah.
But it's like a stationary one.
Right.
It was on the lake. Yeah, we stayed there.
Oh,
yeah,
there's
awesome.
actually a story that the Weisgerbers and then the Wolves, right? And then Grandma and Grandpa went down there and they all came back and all the ladies were pregnant.
Oh,
they all had kids in the same
That's
class.
hilarious.
Yep.
That's what happens
Sharon
when you're
and
relaxed
Wendy
and you're not
and-
working every day. Yeah. Okay, so then in the 80s, then Belgie and Sharon ran it. How come you didn't?
Well,
Or Steve?
Well, they were both working here.
Steve wasn't able to because he had his bad car accident.
Yes.
January of 71, I believe it was, or 72.
Steve, that we call Barney Willems, has a run. They have a small fun run, and Barney has a run, and then they donate it to nonprofits, right?
Yes.
It's for someone else. But there was a bad accident by Mr. G's on that corner there.
Yes.
Because I know that my brother and Dick Burris and them had an accident on the same corner as well.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
a slippery corner.
Sure.
It's a
Well, there
bad
was
corner
also-
there.
And they had 4 large trees there.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
they
They're
now
They're all
removed.
gone now.
Okay.
They're all gone
But
now.
that's what he hit.
He
That
hit
was-
the tree, slid off the
Yeah.
road, hit the
So
tree.
then he had some medical issues that he wasn't able to actually
Correct.
run the restaurant
Correct.
and run the bowl.
But he's been a godsend.
But he works here with
oh my
everyone.
gosh.
He works 7 days a week his
Yeah.
whole life. Actually, if you bartended here, you know, we have now taken some duties away from him as he gets older, but he stocked your beer.
We haven't taken them
Yes,
away.
we did. Certain ones.
Well, he cut all our fruit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And 2 days went by and I noticed there was no fruit cut. So I said, Steve, why aren't you cutting the fruit? And he said, I'm not cutting the fruit anymore.
But he didn't want to tell you.
I said, okay.
But
Which
also,
he has every right not to cut
No,
the fruit, but he's
right,
going to say
right.
it.
And
but
that
also,
was probably 5
I think
years
there's
ago.
some miscommunication here because I didn't want him cutting fruit anymore because he cut too much, and if you hid the fruit so he wouldn't cut it, he'd go to the pig and get more fruit to cut
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So there was a lot of things that it was. He did everything for years for the staff. When you came into the bowl bar, everything was stocked.
Yeah.
So our bartenders, when they opened,
He's very
napkins,
routine.
straws, and this was Belgian
Well,
too.
right, totally.
And stocked our beer at the end of the night. If you ask Eddie, and even at Husby's, they say every bar needs a Barney because. You know, you go to other bars and it's like you don't have to take out your own garbage. You don't have to stock your own beer. So
Steve
they had a
would
good
carry up
phone.
4 cases of beer at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
But
God, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
so we're close.
He doesn't anymore.
No.
He
So-
did for many years.
It's interesting now. This is kind of going back, pivoting a little, and it's going back to the stories that you probably know that your dad told you that we've not heard because I only knew Earl as my grandpa, whereas Jason went to football games with him. He went
Oh,
to
yeah.
Vegas with him. He knew him as a friend.
Yeah.
But I was working here I've been waitressing here for years, and I'd wait on this couple often every summer, a couple times a summer, and one time they came in with their whole family, and I never knew that his grandkids I played soccer with in Green Bay for years. I played with her for 4 or 6 years. And it turns out that he was also Earl's heart surgeon. And he was the doctor for Clyde, Earl, possibly your dad, and Wink Larson.
What was his name?
I have it written down somewhere. I'd have to go, or I'd have to message Jessie and ask her. But he told me this story about was it your dad being down? No, Grandpa had just had heart surgery, and Al would stop at the bowl and get him a cheeseburger and bring it down to him in the hospital.
Of course he did.
And he was like, well, I really love the
Did he
camaraderie.
bring a milkshake too? He usually brings a milkshake and
Yep.
a cheeseburger.
And he
You
brought
bet.
him a cheeseburger. And he said that's also kind of ties into the story that how the Clyde came about. Clyde Casperson, who was also a big Lions Club guy, good friends with this crew, probably played cards. He was not allowed to, his heart surgeon told him he could not eat fried food, but he could eat as much fish as he wanted. So he would come in, and the girls
And
would
have
literally,
fried fish.
they would just write Clyde on the ticket, and it meant double perch, no garbage. That's what our shirt says now. And it meant 2 like special
Yeah.
portions, which we give 4 butterflies. They'd throw an extra one on because it was Clyde. So he had 9 butterflies of perch, and no coleslaw, no potato, just 2 tartars and 2 lemons.
That's hilarious.
So the Clyde's never been on the menu. It's still not, but there's a following of people who order just the Clyde, and that's how it came about. Because of Clyde
and now
Casperson.
everybody's going to come in and order the Clyde.
The Clyde. It's a lot of perch.
Yeah.
And Earl
Maybe
used
you
to
need
say,
split the Clyde.
Earl used to say, the waitresses would get mad because people would come in and say it's all you can eat, and they're like, it's not all you can eat. It's never been all you can eat. And they're like, we talked to the guy on the phone today, and it's all you can eat. Because for years, Earl would come back and help, and when he'd answer the phone, he's like, oh yeah, it's all you need to eat. It's all you need to eat.
Yeah.
But he would never,
The
really
people would
clarify.
think it's all you can eat.
So they'd come in asking for the all you can eat, or being mad.
And then if you asked her, I never said that.
Yeah,
I said,
right,
man,
right.
then there's an argument,
Right.
and my dad goes, that's what's wrong with people.
Yeah.
What's wrong with people?
But and Earl would always come out and check it out. And now Barney, like if when I'd close the bar, all of a sudden he'd come because he could hear things. Like he always comes down and checks it out. Make sure everything's going okay. So
That's so cool.
helping.
Okay, so then when did Sharon and Belgie decide to bow out?
Not till recently.
We took over the end of January 2016.
Okay, so there is a little bit of course, we hear little hubbubs all the time, and I'm not bringing up dirty laundry, I don't think. But when they were deciding to bow out, didn't Mike want to buy it as well?
He was going to.
He was
yes.
going to buy it for years. That was the plan.
So
he was
Mike
managing for 20 years.
which is one of Earl's grandkids, is one of Sharon's sons. He wanted to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you two didn't have interest then when he
No,
was thinking about
I was
buying
fine
it?
with him taking it over.
Okay, and then
I
what
was
happened?
never going to manage this place ever.
Okay, so you guys were still a little bit out of the picture. Okay, so then what happened there? How come he didn't?
Well, he had 2 business ventures he was going on. One, he was going to open like a market with Steve Sauter. That was one thing. I mean, Michael put in years here, 20 years. Running a restaurant, it's a high stress job. And part of it was that he was young. I mean, he's older than I, and he was in it when everyone was still young enough to run it. Mm-hmm. So he put in a lot of time when they weren't ready to give it up.
Right.
And I think he was ready for a change. That was one of the years we were all facing that electrical conversion. Do you remember that?
Yes.
In Sister Bay? But our lanes made the average price. Ours was like 20 times the average cost for other businesses. And just it was an old building, needed a lot of repair. Belge and Sharon were ready to retire, and my mom wasn't. And then Michael had this opportunity to start the boathouse, and he did that, and he stayed on until 4th of July, while he had started the boathouse. And the talks about selling came up while I was traveling. I used to get to travel every spring. I coach.
Not anymore.
I used to coach, and then I'd travel and come back and work the season. It's been a while. And my mom called me, and I was in Oregon, and she said, well, we're going to sell the bowl. Just like that. Just as I'm having my
We're
morning
selling
coffee.
the bowl.
And I said, what? Don't do anything till I get home. And that's when I just said, what do you want to do? Do you want to be done? Do you want to sell the bowl? Do you want to retire? She said no.
I said, I can't retire yet.
Yeah, you were young
I'm
still.
57 at the time.
59.
Yeah.
59 and a half.
And then I said, well, then let's run it. I'll run it until you want to retire. And she was like, what? I said, why don't you run it, is actually what I said. And she's like, I can't run it. And then I said, well, let's run it together and make the decision.
It was
then.
in her heart. It was still in my heart. So
It goes back to me spending, my brother and I's. Every kid spent a lot of time here. And the best part, like the best years when Belge and Sharon and Mom, because Mom was here every day, transitioned into night every day she worked, was when you came in for lunch. Rita was making soup. She was in the kitchen. Michael was getting ready for lunch. He was our full-time lunch cook. Sharon was here. Belgie was on his way out. My cousin Lucas bartended for a while. You know, growing up, him and I were always in and out. We did dishes at lunch. It was always a huge family affair, which made it super special and kind of where we were still a family, even though it was business. We spend our holidays here, our Christmas Eve here.
Yeah, well, that's
makes us
one
a
good thing
family.
about owning a business. You can use it when you're closed and bring your I mean, you got the kitchen.
Best dishwashing system ever.
Yeah. Not a big
for
enough
meals.
house for everybody to go to.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
We actually one year were hauling dishes over, and because
to
why
the
would-
house next door.
Because we, if you want to wash me or go there. And Jason slipped on the ice and fell and broke a bunch of Grandma's Christmas dishes. And everyone's like, Grandma's dishes! And he's like, my back! My back! They're like,
He slipped on the steps.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But so I wasn't ready to let it go. Not just for my mom. I felt like she deserved the opportunity to retire here. And now what is interesting that I didn't expect, I was personally attached to it. I'm attached to it for our family and the community. But now seeing everything disappear so easily, like things that you've grown to just know are there, like JJ's. Even Whistling Swan is like one of my go-to winter places. All these establishments that I miss, and I just think about what selling the bowl would mean, and it would mean it would not be the bowl. Most likely.
Right.
Is there a chance someone would run it as is? Yes, very small. And I think about our staff that we've had forever and what people would do and, just the history,
Like
the
it doesn't
village,
just
the
affect
direction.
you.
Oh
it
my
affects
God.
so many others.
I mean, it's a good time to mention we have 2 staff members that this will be their 51st season.
Oh, wow.
2 that'll be their 37th year. They started the year I was born, and they're still here. It's Brad Lindenberg, our head cook, and Tammy, we call her Hun, but Tammy Anderson, then Lila Anderson, and Rhonda. They've been here my whole life. I mean, literally, Rhonda had me grinding salad toppings. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Put me in the prep station. I love doing that. So there's just so much history, and I think having new is great. There's a lot of families that came in and got established in the last 10 years, but it's that layering of different businesses over time. We still have the traditions that made people love Door County in the first place. There's room to grow, but you can't ever replace JJ's. You can't ever replace the Bowl or Al's or Wilson's,
It's just what people know. Like if all of us are dead and gone, and everything changes, well, we won't be there to see it, so it's not going to hurt us. But I always feel like it does when you're here.
Right. Well, and Earl and Al were very foundational in the town. Like when I hear Greg talk a lot, which we need to do more of, like Greg and Dick Burris, they'll tell stories that I would never know. And like you probably have stories of Al that I never know. When they would bowl and it was still pin setters, they would roll up dollar bills to keep the kids back there. So they wanted to bowl and drink more. And so they would just keep feeding them dollar bills, and they'd take them out and send the balls back. And
That's funny.
Like just the amount that they contributed to the Lions Club, which was a huge organization back then.
Yeah.
It was a rumor that Earl would go and meet new people in the town and say, hi, I'm Earl from the Bowl, and I need $20 for the Lions Club. Yep, it's not a lot. Yep, you can give it. You can contribute, like, without even, pretty presumptuous. But also just, like, they would close their doors on Fall Fest, say, go be with the non-for-profits. And so these are good stories to tell because they do disappear as we keep moving on.
Yeah.
And it's good to know the foundation of it.
It's good to know history. I love history. So then you two took it over, and how do you work together?
Well, for the most
Do you?
part.
For
Do you
the
ever
most
butt
part, yeah.
heads? Like
Yeah, but
big
not like
time?
I do with my father.
No.
It is so much worse.
It's easier to work together.
Oh, yeah. The thing
Well, you're
is,
pretty laid back.
yeah. We have opposite strengths, right? So she doesn't want to deal with technology. She also said, like, I always had to do the scheduling. There are definitely, like, she is someone who will come in and, like, if you don't know where Penny is, she's scrubbing the floor. She is, like, the workhorse, works harder than anyone I know.
I follow in my mom's footsteps, I think.
So when you retire, you're coming down to Al's to work with me? There you
I
go.
often think, what will I do?
Because I would hire you.
But would I want to go to another restaurant?
You never know.
I don't know.
You never know.
I still have her for suit making for at least a decade, so she's about to retire. But
Okay,
Rita
Paula.
retired from suit making officially when she was 87, and when we took over, was she 91?
I think she came back
And
when
she
was
said, "I'm going to
91.
come back to help you guys out in your first couple."
Oh,
years.
that's awesome.
So that was the other thing is if we sold, it was like so Grandma doesn't live her last years in her house. Barney doesn't live
I
upstairs.
know you have to think about all these other little things that shouldn't matter, but they do.
They do.
Right. Totally.
When I know Penny has a following, because when you are at bartending, sometimes all your girlfriends come and have, like at Al's, we have a coffee clutch. You must have.
We play schmear.
Yeah, you must have times where people come in different groups, right?
Well, I don't bartend anymore.
So you
well,
just
She
sit and
does
play
now
schmear.
because we don't have a day bartender.
I'm the
helping
helper.
me.
I'm the helper.
Yeah.
Only the helper.
When I used to get
But all
off the
your
bus,
girlfriends come in and they all
do.
sit here in the corner, right? Like Andrea Erickson
Well,
and
That's kind of slid away.
what
I
about
tried
Lila
to get
City? Does she still come in?
it. No.
What?
no, now it's like Rose will come play schmear. I mean, I've learned, but that's because we're not
Tammy.
open on Tuesday afternoons
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah.
That's why
Our
it's
hours have changed.
So when I
Okay.
used to get off the bus and the grill wasn't there, there was always a card game going on in the same spot, same people. And when I get off the bus, I would do math with Greg Goss. I would play Connects with Dakota, and Art and Jane would help me with my reading homework.
Connect with Dakota, I love it.
Like there was and then
Dakota was a little bit of a legend in Sister Bay.
Yes,
You can
and
ask
then-
anybody about him. He was a wild man,
we
but
had
he
to
was a
take-
good guy.
If we had to
Yes,
take a
he
nap,
was.
we did it in the front dining room. I remember Jeopardy being on, and then we got to bowl or whatever. But there was always those card games. Now we're not open, and that's hard because you want to be open for locals, but it really doesn't pay to. But it's mostly a staffing thing.
Right.
Like when we had family here, it didn't matter. Everyone
It's
could
just
just take
been
their
unusual.
turn.
You guys
It
took it
is.
over at an unusual time.
Yes.
I mean, COVID and everything, and then like trying to figure out how you're going to get employees. I mean, it's a big, busy business. Business doesn't slow down. It's just that we're limping along with a ragtag team
Yeah.
Yep.
of good workers.
Yeah. Right.
But they get exhausted, and by fall, they're just ready to be done. I mean,
Yes.
before even fall hits. So
Yeah.
September is a little bit of a quiet time, and I think some people get to take a break. But with you guys, any future plans about upstairs? Maybe you guys should open up a little something up
she
there.
has.
That's literally been my.
Like rent some cool little rooms, like
If
retro
I had-
rooms.
If I had my dream, Jason Dobner would come run this. Jason Dobner.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Wing, wing.
And then, my dream has always been to redo the upstairs.
Yeah, because that's a really awesome spot up there.
great
You could
view up
really,
there.
yeah, you could do some rooms or rent, make it a
Yes.
little motel up there again. Not big.
Where do we put Steve?
Well,
You can ask that corner still. Yeah.
So part of it,
Steve
like
can come and stay with me.
the
Okay.
dream has always been to reopen some sort of martini bar, something from the time period when my grandparents started to run it, and
Oh, upstairs?
Yes,
Oh,
but
yeah.
if we ever did rooms, they would be not very many, like just enough for like a wedding party
Sure.
or something small. But when we went to Savannah, I've always wanted a cigar bar up there in honor of Earl
Yeah.
and a place to
Oh
play
my God,
cards
cool.
because
And get
all
a
the
piano bar.
but
And a little dance floor.
Maybe dance.
we were really
Yeah.
inspired in Savannah of all the different places we went, and I just thought, it gave me different ideas for the upstairs. But so if anyone
Yeah,
has
you
$5 or
guys gotta
$10
do
million
something with
that
that.
they want to,
Yeah, if anybody
somewhere.
wants to invest in the upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah. Be like a speakeasy.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about that too. There's a
Yeah.
lot that could be done. But again, it comes down to how do you create a schedule that you can maintain, something that's fluent with what we have down here. I mean, even when, there's so many times when I've wanted to update certain things on the menu, and we have, but at how many changes do you add to the detriment of what you already have going. That's
Right.
a well-oiled machine. So
Right.
it's always thinking
You don't
about
want things to slow you down. You want them to
and you
be
don't want to
running.
do anything like if you're going to do it, you want to do it 100%. You don't, want to.
Nothing half-ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes. So
and I know
we've-
that you guys run this. Do you do anything outside of the bowl? Like, do you have other jobs? You do. Oh my God! You just got a whole bunch of barns from and buildings from Fred and Fuzzy, and you intend on using those for employee housing eventually.
Yeah.
So you got a lot on your plate.
I did just get my
She's a
variance.
basketball coach for Gibraltar. She was an incredible basketball player herself in her day, which was not too long ago.
Well, it was 20 years
No,
ago.
well, it just seems like yesterday.
No,
Come on, it
we were
feels
just
like
talking
yesterday
about
for me
coaching.
too.
It's
But-
crazy. I've been coaching over a decade. Which
Yeah, but you
seems
don't
very
just
strange.
run this place. You do
No.
a lot of other things that
I-
people don't know about.
I think too, as getting involved, especially with Fred and Fuzzies, and I'm on Green Tier, and I would love to continue to do more things in the community because I think we're at a point where we've lived in a very cushy golden era where we had just enough business for everyone, new things coming in. I mean, I know we had that dead zone when they wrote that article in the Pulse about how was it the 90s or early 2000s? It must have been maybe recession time, where like things were dead up here, but we still had good summers and there was growth. We never thought there'd be a time when people wanted to tear down everything and build new, and now we don't have the policies in place for balance. And I think even countrywide, like especially with how things are going, we never had to pay attention as much as we do now, or we didn't, and we're like, it was fine. And now I just feel like there's a lot of things I don't like that I'm seeing, and I'm feeling that from a lot of people. And it's not a new is bad and old is good. It's just about balance and thinking about what we want our county to look like in 50 years, and how much we can sustain, and trying to put things in balance. And it's strange that if you talk to my cousins, they would say, well, Paula didn't want to sell the house in Florida. She wants to keep everything. She wants to keep the bowl. Now she's keeping Fred and Fuzzy's cottages. But it's when I saw all of that, like when I walked, like I had the same visceral reaction when my mom told me we were selling the bowl. I was like, no,
Yeah.
like I don't know. And again, it didn't need to be me. I didn't think it would be me, but I wasn't ready to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, all you would have to do is put that on Facebook and it would blow up like,
Yeah.
10 million people are like, no, you
No.
can't sell the bowl. Oh my
Right.
God. And then you're like, well, then I can hire you. How about come and work for me?
Application.
Yeah, we need some, we need,
But
yeah.
I even see that with Fred and Fuzzy's, just like that was a heartbreaking loss to the community because it's one of the only places on the water. It did have history, but it's beautiful. Walking
Yeah.
that property so much after, just trying to get the buildings to be saved. The kitchen there felt like my grandma's kitchen. It's attached to the old dining hall, or was attached, and the windows hooked to the ceiling, and like the breeze in the spring, like smelled like lilacs, and it was just that old kitchen feel that
Yeah.
you totally know that they, everyone would go take their meals at, and that is a piece of history that no one, like, you can't tell a story about it. It's so different when you feel it. It's so different when you're there. A group of my girlfriends walked through the cottages with me, and they were just like, they felt that, like, wow, this is something that you can't build now, and no one would ever just go and probably build something like that. It was very unique.
I wish more young people would think like you. A lot of people like to complain, but they never want to be part of the solution.
Totally.
I know a lot of people gripe and complain and put bad comments on everything, but they don't want to join the board, or they don't want to come to the meetings, or they don't want, but they're mad about stuff. I mean, younger people should be interested because this is their future area to live in if they're going to stay here.
I think that comes again from not ever having to really fight for anything. I didn't have to fight for my rights
Right.
for voting or anything
No,
like
it was
that.
so
And now,
small here. Everything was so small.
and even I listen to meetings now, and I'll say to my friends, like, did you know what they're talking about where you live? And they have no idea. And I think our towns could do, I know there's legal ways you have to put information out there, but I think we could do a better job in the different municipalities of putting it out there in a more digestible form for people, knowing that people are busy. I go to more Sister Bay, or I listen to more Sister Bay meetings than Liberty Grove, but I live in Liberty Grove. There's a big meeting tonight that's going to affect a lot of people, and I can't get to it. So I think there would there's could be more community outreach, and I do wish people, it does make you busy, but at the end of the day, things that are going to affect us in 10 years are starting right now. That is when boards are talking about things and plans are being laid and zoning's being changed. And if you can't, a lot of these people who are volunteering for boards are just normal people, and they learn as they go, right? And they're doing the best they can. You know, you might not have the same viewpoints on them, but there's not a lot of people that are vindictive on these boards, but it's about getting involved and being knowledgeable. And I think too, it's about not selling out. I mean, everyone needs a retirement plan, and that's what I wanted for my family. And I know a lot of people in Door County, they work so hard their whole life, and they do deserve to cash in. But it's also like, as soon as you turn your business over to someone else, you have,
We're going through the same thing.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, if I can run the bowl even for a while, let my mom retire, and who knows what will happen with it. But it's like, I knew at the time it was not the time to sell. And it would be, everyone
Are
has
you
to do
so
what's
proud
best
of
for
her
them.
to do this? Oh my gosh.
Totally.
It's the hardest thing
What
I've
about
ever
your
done,
brother?
for
He
sure.
didn't want anything to do?
Oh, now he does.
Now he does?
No, he's a plumber.
She
And
has a brother,
yeah,
yes.
He
yes.
helps with the lanes. He's a big bowler, along with Michael and Jason. They're all very good bowlers. He has a full-time job. He's married to an ER nurse, and they live in Surgeon Bay. And he's, up here fixing things often on the weekends. My dad is our maintenance
So he's
guy.
still got a presence here.
Sure.
Yeah.
He does dream about it, and then I'm like, do you want to give up weekends off? Do you want to give up your Friday nights? Do you want, like, the reality of running a restaurant is just like, when I was little, I would play all day and then go in and watch my grandma get ready to come over here, like, and she'd have a little break. It's just different. You don't, my dad watched us at night if we weren't up here. My mom worked every night.
Yeah.
It is different.
It
and as you
is.
get older, you start to want your nights. You want to make dinner at home.
I know. Actually, we were open at Al's 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day,
Oh my
7 days a
gosh.
week.
Crazy.
And then we decided to start closing at 3, and this was before COVID. Because when Bo was sick, we were
Remember,
closing at 3. And I was kind of devastated. I was like, oh my God, we're not having dinners anymore.
Yeah,
but now that we've gotten used to not having dinners, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It doesn't really make sense
No, I get it.
business-wise. We would love to be open from 3 to 8 p.m. But again, staffing's a problem. But also, I don't know that I'd want that anymore if I had to be there too.
I think that's where we used to be so, like, every day, consistency all the time. And then a lot of businesses, like, you look at Roots, who really has a niche of lunch, and even us falling away from lunches, we're a supper club.
Yeah.
We can go back to being the niche.
Yeah.
The problem is we have a bowling alley, and then if it rains, we want to be open for people.
Everybody wants to bowl when it's bad weather.
Yes.
Yep.
Come when it's sunny. I mean, any lane, any of the 6 you want, for as long as you want. But we always made, consistency is key, but then you look at these businesses who do what they do really well, and people seek them out and they go for that.
Yeah.
And COVID especially made people reevaluate, like, money versus time, experiences, well-being of staff in general. So now it's like maintaining some sort of that, but customers are also more understanding when you say, we got to close this Sunday.
Yeah.
We have to do this. So there's a little bit more of like, can I maintain this? We talk about this all the time. Can I do what I need to do and still keep the business going? It might look a little different. We've never closed a day in the summer. We've
I
always
was kind of
tried.
shocked you guys were closed the other day. I saw you
Yep.
sipping on drinks. I saw you on TV at the Appleton Airport.
Well,
yes.
we closed to go to the
I was
bowling
like,
summit.
hey, is the bowl
That was-
closed?
yeah, we were
I
going
see
to
him on
the
TV.
Well, guess
Summit.
what? Next year we're going to be in New Orleans at the bowling conference.
Oh, the
in
bowling conference.
It's now the summit. I think
Bowling
it sounds
Summit.
Yeah.
bowling, but it's a whole different. And the industry's way bigger than I ever dreamed. But we will go every year now, so
Well,
we
that's
will be closed in
perfect.
January, so that we can be open for the Chris Grindle Market in December. Not to step on your toes, but we were thinking about starting breakfast for many years, just on the weekends because you're so busy. But Al and Earl had a non-compete back in the day.
Oh,
They
geez.
had
Back in the day.
we wouldn't serve breakfast and you wouldn't serve alcohol, and now we're competing for the best perch and pancake.
Yeah, perches and
batter.
pancakes. That's
Perches-
right.
We might
That's
have
right.
to do a dual event, perch and pancakes.
Okay. Well, I love it.
We'll trade out
Yeah.
breading.
Okay. Well, this is really nice. I'm not going to show you the bottom, but Penny and Paula and the Bowl, Sister Bay Bowl, donated a check to my little mini foundation called the Go Bowl Foundation. And it's $100. And I know that you always say that's not very much, but it's huge because when Bo and I used to talk, it was always huge. Even 50 cents was huge to Bo.
Wow.
He was like, I don't care if it's only $1 or $100. He goes, it's how they give it and it's how we use it that makes the difference.
Sure.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I'm going to make me cry in a good way.
Yeah.
Happy
But anyways,
tears.
thank
Happy
you.
tears. You're welcome.
Yeah. Bo used to come love bowling here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We have some pictures. He didn't want me to bowl. Mom, don't bowl. Don't bowl. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for sitting down and talking. I know it's not that busy today,
Thank
but
you.
I'm sure you had things to do. So, but thanks for joining us for another episode of Door County Girl with Paula and Penny. And please come to the Sister Bay Bowl. They're open.
Every night except for Monday, and we're open Fridays and Saturdays all day.
And they can bowl anytime.
Well, we have leagues going on, but Tuesday Night League is done February 28th. On Wednesday, we have like 4 lanes available, and Thursday goes until the end of April.
And basically that means from 6 until like 9:30.
Yeah.
There's just league, but outside of those times
Yeah.
you can bowl.
Right. And it's a great place to have a mini birthday party for your kids. I know people think about pools all the time, but we used to come here and have Bo had a birthday party here and they had a riot. We have our employee parties here and we have fun too. So bowling's for everyone. So
It is.
yeah.
Family
You
sport.
don't have to be good at it. You just
No.
have to have fun. So don't forget to like and subscribe at the bottom of the page, and you can join us for some other Door County Girl episodes with really awesome people like Penny and Paula. So see you later, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for watching Door County Girl. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.